Hi, I'm Gina Hyena, and this is Gina Got Friends. So this podcast is all about my friends that are doing their own thing in hopes that it'll stimulate somebody to start doing their own thing using their passion projects. We got Kenny Santucci here today. I'm going to let him talk in a second. And I'm Gina Hyena. You know, I started comedy, and so now I want to interview all my friends, get them talking, get you inspired. So let's fucking do it. Hey, Kenny.
Wow.
I know. It's impressive.
No, it's more impressive that you called us friends. I would never say we were friends.
Yeah, I know.
I would say we're buddies.
Yeah, the things that I had
I
to
only
do.
have buddies.
You only have buddies?
Yeah, because I don't do this for just anybody. Think I come on anybody's show this late at night on a school night just to hang out with friends? No, friends are people you meet on the street. Buddies are people you do shit for.
Oh, that's cute. When did you start using the word buddy so much?
Oh, God. I was always so bad with names. I have a terrible memory. So in high school, I just started calling everybody buddy.
Oh, in high school?
Yeah. So everybody started calling me buddy.
Oh, that's
So
cute.
yeah, because I would forget people's names all the time.
Oh, why don't you give him a look in the camera for a second? Because that's what half the people are here for.
Oh.
And that head of hair. No, that's fair. So me and Kenny know each other from the same church youth group. No, we actually know each other from the gym.
It's the church of the devil.
Right. So I started doing CrossFit to kind of meet new people because I was allegedly doing
Loosely
doing
CrossFit.
loosely, very loosely doing CrossFit. I found a gym that just had the best trainers in New York City.
Yeah. At one point, that was the best place to go.
It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we met. And then now Kenny is out on his own doing his own thing. So let's get into that.
Yeah. So I was a fat kid my whole life. I hated being fat. So all through high school and college, I kind of lived in a gym, and I was like, I love being in the gym, and I would skip work to go to the gym, and I would, skip dates to go to the gym. So I'm like, I need to just get a job in the gym.
Eating disorder. Got it.
Yeah,
So
for sure. It's something like that.
when did you notice, when did you get sick of being fat?
Oh God, I know the exact moment.
Okay.
I was about to go to this girl Lisa's birthday party in 8th grade.
Okay.
And my parents, like all good Italian parents, used to dress me in tracksuits. So I had a tracksuit, and I saved it all year, right? Her birthday was in September, and I got this tracksuit for my birthday.
What color was it?
Oh, it was horrendous. It was like purple and gray and like a shitty shade of green. So I had this tracksuit on. I'm looking in the mirror, and I was like, man, I'm going to look so fly with this tracksuit on. And I look in the mirror in my bedroom that I shared with both my brothers, poor white trash from New Jersey. And I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm fat, and I got these big square glasses on, and I just hated what I saw.
Damn.
I'm miserable. I hate myself.
Did you go to the party still?
I still went, and I was like, I used to tuck my track jacket in the pants of the tracksuit. Yeah,
That's a
terrible.
better look.
I was so fat. My dad's like, you got to pull your pants up more, because I try to wear them low, right, to try to look cool. But I had to pull them up. So my dad, anytime I leave the house, my dad's like, pull your pants up. So I used to wear them like above my belly button. So
I don't like that you're giving away every girl's secret right now that we're all wearing high-waisted.
Yeah. Oh, I was doing, ladies, I was doing that way before you were. All right. That was like a 90s thing for me.
Right.
I used to cover up my fat belly button.
Aw.
I had one of those belly buttons that looks like you could eat soup out of it. I used to pull the pants up real high, or my dad would. He's like, pull your pants up. So I'd pull my pants up to over my belly button, and I still looked fat in them. It wasn't as form-fitting or as tight as Lululemon pants or something.
Fuck. So were you the first one in your family to start working out?
Yeah. So when I got to high school, I promised myself, I remember I went to the best high school ever, St. Peter's Prep in Jersey City, Prep Pride. So I went to St. Peter's, and I went to, I knew they had a weight room there. And so now I had no excuse, right? My excuse before that was I didn't know how to work out. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no access to a gym. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. Think about it, there's a gym on every corner right now.
I was going to say Jersey is like the place where
no, but there
be
weren't
lifting.
many.
Yeah.
Because when I moved up to Cedar Grove, where my parents still, or my mom still lives, there was one around the block, but the nearest one to that was like 15, 20 minute drive away in like Wayne. So there weren't a lot. Now there's a gym everywhere. But, back in the day, I mean, there was like 3 gyms that like you could go to or that everyone went to. And you would never see attractive women at
Yeah, there was no women working out. Yeah.
Especially not by the weightlifting equipment. So, it was like this whole like last 10 years kind of social media, kind of like everybody is a fucking personal trainer now bullshit.
Everyone.
Yeah, everyone. It's annoying, but I love it at the same time because, I mean, there's plenty of people who still need it. I was just down in New Orleans, and there were so many people riding around in motorized carts because they're so heavy that
Middle America is interesting.
It's incredible. It's like we encourage bad behavior on so many different levels in this country, and they should, instead of having people pay for motorized carts, they should pay people to work some of these people out, especially everybody who's a fucking Instagram trainer.
But then I wouldn't make money in pharmaceutical sales if we did that.
That's a good point too.
So
everybody's trying to make that bread.
Right. So you went from high school being fat. How did you start learning how to work out?
So again, there wasn't the internet at that time. So we didn't have, you didn't have every hot girl with a great ass and fake tits on Instagram now. Like,
and men.
And guys who have, fake asses and calves and everything else. Telling you how to work out. So the only way to do it was through magazines and books. So when I was like 14, 15 years old, I started to really get into working out. My brother got me the Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
Was that Arnold's?
Arnold's.
I had that too.
It's like the gold.
It's so big.
Yeah.
I totally had that because I remember the abs workout was like 25, like 4 sets of 25 of each exercise. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like,
you do it with like a 45-pound barbell. Anyway, so I did that. And then there was this deli when I used to take the Newark City subway to to Penn Station. Then Penn Station, I used to take the PATH train to Grove Street in Jersey City. I used to get off the train, walk through this like kind of project area. There's a little deli in this kind of complex. And in the complex was, this little magazine shop, and they had this, kind of magazine station. And it was always like muscle magazines and porn magazines.
Same thing, yeah.
So me and a couple of my buddies and my brothers would always like kind of slip them under our shirts and walk out with them. And I used to just pull the workouts out of there. It was like, Arnold's back workout or Stone Cold Steve Austin's arm workout. And you're like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I would take these magazines to the gym and just try all this shit.
Okay. And that worked out for you?
Yeah. And then I hired trainers later on when I got on television and stuff like that.
Do you remember your first trainer's name?
Yeah. Actually, yes. His name's Jeff Vittori. I'm still friends with him.
Aw,
yeah,
cute.
Good dude. So he got me ready for the first show I did. And then I started working out with this dude, Joe DeFranco, who's a pretty big deal in the strength and conditioning world. And he taught me a lot. But Jeff was great. I mean, he was right in my town. I was just trying to find somebody who could get me ready. He was kind of introduced me to CrossFit.
Oh, okay.
He was the first one. And this was 2005, 2006, maybe. Probably even, 2004, 2005. As early as 2004, 2005, we were flipping tires, doing box jumps, kettlebell swings. Like, there's this fucking craze now amongst trainers in New York City who like only use the kettlebell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like it's the only tool in the gym. This guy had me swinging a kettlebell. I mean, yeah.
Forever ago.
Almost 20
we
years
got it
ago.
High-waisted and kettlebells. Kenny Santucci did it first.
Well, it was a cool tool because it wasn't everywhere. Like it wasn't a staple in any gym. Like very few gyms had kettlebells, especially not bodybuilding gyms. And that's what most gyms were.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then these functional training studios started to pop up. And then these like...
Zumba, TRX.
Yeah, I do a lot of that too. Hey, I mean, listen.
I'm just going to keep talking shit while you're being completely serious about your passion.
Whatever gets you, whatever gateway drug you need to use to get to the promised land, which is like your fitness journey, more power to you. My mom started with Zumba. And I was like, this is bullshit and stupid and you're wasting your time. And
but
then
her
I was
heart
like,
rate got up, right?
Yeah. And then I was like, wait, hold on. this is actually really good for her because it gets her going and doing something. And then I got her into like CrossFit.
All right. But didn't you go to school for like art or something like that?
Yes, I did.
So what happened there that you went from like, I'm in love with working out in high school to like art?
So here was my path, right? When I was a kid, I obviously didn't work out. I loved to draw. Like since I was 2-3 years old, my mother has books and books and books of me, like sketchbooks that I had. And I loved drawing and I loved comic books and I loved tattoo artwork and I loved graffiti and I like unconventional or what used to be unconventional art. So when I got to school and I started doing like comic book art and things like that, every teacher I had was like, you can't make a living like this. Stop drawing. I would get in trouble all the time in school because I draw over everything on the desks, on the walls, everything. And I love to draw. And that's what I wanted to do. And when I got to college, I was super into fitness at this time, right?
Okay.
So I went through high school and I'm like, all right, I remember going and talked to my guidance counselor and I was like, all right, how can I do both? How can I do both? And she's like, these two paths will never cross. There's no point in doing both. You'll be in school for 7 years and you can't get a good job in either field.
Okay. Like how much do you wish you could have like slapped her now?
So now here you are wearing one of my shirts
yeah.
for my fitness brand. Yeah.
Hey.
So it's like,
can you still hear me?
you could marriage, and this is what I have nieces and nephews who are all, 18 to 4 weeks old. And I tell them all, I'm like, just,
you're 60.
And I'm almost, I feel like I am. My back feels like it's 60. But no, I tell everybody, I go, just like you're doing with this podcast, just do what you enjoy.
Yeah.
And then eventually it'll take you to something you love. And, money's a byproduct of doing what you love.
Yeah, it's really fucking annoying. And this is like why I started this podcast. Because when I was younger, I actually also loved doing art. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to go to school for art. I wanted to be a tattoo artist. And my parents were like, no. They were just like, absolutely not.
Well, when I told my father I'm going to go be a trainer in New York City, he's like, so you're gay and you're going to make no money. Right. And I was like, I guess if that's what you got from me moving to New York.
Right?
Yeah.
And you'd be making more money if you were gay.
For sure.
And probably a better dancer.
Way better dancer. Right? I'd have better hips.
It's so crazy because it's like a certain parallel of all of the people that I've talked to. Because I think you've met my friend Brendan before as an R&B singer. Mm-hmm. And he works in finance. And before his parents were like, no. Medicine or like finance. And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's how my parents are like, you're going to be a nurse. And I'm like, I don't want to stick a catheter in somebody all day. Well, like, that's not it for me.
I think there's this mentality, like they come from that blue collar kind of baby boomer mentality where it's like, you need a good job with stability and benefits and all that bullshit. And, we've slowly learned that those aren't the best jobs and nobody really wants to do them. And, and more power to the people who do them. Listen, I have family who are teachers and cops and, work in finance and all that stuff and nurses. I have 3 family members who are nurses. Could I wipe somebody's ass? No. Do I want to see anybody bleed? No.
Yeah. It's just not my passion. It's so crazy that, what generation are you? Like in your family? Like your immigrant generation?
So my grandparents came here.
Okay. Same. Yeah. So it's so strange too that everybody that I've talked to like this has also a similar story that they're either like their family was from Trinidad or my friend's family is from Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And so you have that generation that was like, we came over here with nothing.
Yeah.
So you're so fucking lucky that you get to go to college. And they're like, you're not doing this froofy fucking bullshit. They're like, you're getting.
I think that's a misunderstanding. I think why we group people in generations is because we have a completely different experience than our parents.
For sure.
Yeah. Like things cost different. People date differently. Mm-hmm. We experience life a completely different way. So when somebody from a different generation is trying to influence what you're doing, it's good to hear and understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because they've obviously have some wisdom. They understand life, but their experience through life is completely different.
I think it also gives somebody like me and you and the other people I've talked to a work ethic because you've seen what your grandparents did. And you're like, you came over here with goddamn nothing.
Yeah.
Like my grandfather only had like canned food and like a garden so he could make sauce. Like it was nothing. So I'm like, I'm very grateful for it. And I think like anybody like from that generation would be like clapping for me if they saw like I went to New Orleans, I went out to brunch and I was like, I'm spending like over $100 on my plate, And they're like, they would have never thought I could do that. But also their hard work allowed me to do that.
My grandparents grew up during the Depression,
Mm-hmm.
and my grandmother grew up on a farm in Fairfield, New Jersey. Like
Crazy.
the part of Fairfield now, it's like it's some of the most expensive real estate in New Jersey. It's a really well-to-do town, but she grew up there when she first moved here from Italy. She's like 5,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd always talk about like milking cows and shit.
Yeah, and you're like, what? You're like, I'm not going to relate to that. You're like, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it's just like that's a completely different life, and it's completely different. Like they were old immigrant Italian farmers.
Yeah,
That's what everybody did.
yeah. I think my grandfather was one of 8 because that's what like the first Tony died. He drowned in a river, and then he's the latest of them. They just named another kid Tony. They were like, oh, let's just make another one.
I forget what movie. I was just watching a movie, and God, I forget what the hell it was. But this woman was given birth,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like the 17 or 1800s, and she like almost dies. And they talked about how so many people would die that way. And you're like, holy shit, how crazy and how long ago.
Now they're just popping, walking them out.
Yeah, well, my grandmother had 5. And
Crazy.
Yeah, and she would talk. She's like, "Oh, everyone was terrible," and you're like, "Shit, yeah." Modern medicine has really helped people out a lot, right? It's not. It's never like, "Oh, she's gonna die from this." It was like a 50-50 chance you weren't making it. I'd be like, "I think we better hold off on the
Right?
kids.
We already got 4.
Yeah. It's like, are we gonna really go down this road again?
Right.
Just take the risk.
Just
of
hoping
dying?
for a boy. Just keeping going. God, it's so fucking crazy. But I think there is like a parallel there that you've seen somebody work very hard. So even though it's
something
not
you care about.
even though it's not something like they wouldn't understand like it being working out or art, there still is like that has to have, I don't know if it's subconscious or not. You're like, oh, I watched somebody work their fucking ass off.
Yeah.
So I can like live in New York City and eat well.
Yeah.
So like
100%.
that's drive is going to be in you because you meet some people that are like Generation 7 American and they're just like going by,
Well, I think
living at their parents' house.
I think the longer people have been here, right? You're multiple generations in, and they're especially here in New York. It's like, oh, it's the guy whose family owns all of 42nd Street, right? Or the guy who owns the color blue. It's like, you guys have been here a long time,
forever.
You really got your feet dug in here. Right. Where the rest of us, it's like, my mom's dad had to change his name, right? My grandfather and my mom's dad had to change his name because they wouldn't give Italians work in the 1940s, 50s.
Yeah, that's why even if you go to that subway museum, there's like multiple Italians that worked on making the subway, and like most of them died. I think there's a memoriam if you go to the MTA museum or whatever the fuck it is, and it's like 71 Italian Americans died here, and like it won't say their names. Mm-hmm. It's just like because they're just one of whatever. They're like, lob them in there. But like railroads too. Actually, New Orleans, that's where Columbus Day came from. Did you know that? New Orleans, they hung, I think, 8 Italian Americans.
Yeah, it was the biggest hanging.
Yeah, and that's where that came from.
Somebody was telling me that.
Yeah, probably me on Instagram bitching about something. But okay, so you went from art doing, and then
that awkward. Like I was, like, when I look at nerdy kids, I laugh because I'm like, and people are like, oh, that's so mean. And I go, no, that was me. I get this kid.
Yeah. You're like, I get your trauma. I'm going to laugh at you.
Like I'm training this kid now who's like 16, 17 years old. He's kind of awkward. And I'm like, I see so much of myself in this kid.
Do you ever think of yourself like as just an older version of that young, like fat kid?
100%.
And you're like, I'm so lucky to now be this person.
If you came to my apartment, like I have Ghostbuster pictures up on the wall. I collect Fun Pop, the Funko Pop dolls. I have statues of Batman in my apartment. People come over and they're like, who decorated this?
And people still fuck you, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's incredible. Right?
It's wild.
Yeah. But no, I love that shit. I haven't missed a Comic-Con in 20 years.
Oh yeah, we went to one.
Yeah.
I go one like 5 years ago.
I go every year. I don't miss it.
And now this Javits Center was like for dead bodies this year.
That's a little depressing.
Yeah. Well, you were here, so we could talk about that, but let's go into more.
I didn't leave. And the rest of you who left, cowards. All right. We stuck it out. No, you left too.
I came back, asshole. I was in Texas, which was the funnest place to be.
For a long time.
I lived in Texas for 2 years. It was the funnest place to be during COVID because it was just open because they didn't believe in it or whatever. Or maybe it's great. I don't want to piss off anybody from Texas. Yeah, but yay or whatever. And HEB, cool, Buc-ee's. So they love grocery stores and gas stations over there. So you can just shout out HEB and they're just super into it. Power grid though, not so hot, guys. Trying to figure that one out still. You got guns, but you can't get the power grid down. But anyways, so I was in Texas when COVID hit. I was able to go out, and then I didn't have a job, and the only job offer I had was in New York because I had clout from medical sales here. I did medical sales for 10 years. Lost my job for allegedly sexy reasons in Texas.
Sexy reasons?
Yeah. You not know this story?
No.
You don't know I got fired for being on a webcam?
Really?
Yeah. It's like one, a true story.
Come on.
Two. So I was working in neurosurgeries during the day.
Like a OnlyFans girl?
Chatterbait, way before OnlyFans.
What's Chatterbait?
The art of chatting and masturbating. So it is. I said art. I'm an artist, Kenny. See, I did exactly what my parents didn't want me to do. I became an artist.
With those nails?
Yeah. So half the screen is split. Okay. So it's like your camera, and then the other half is split. So it's like an AOL style chat room. So they can chat while you bait. And like literally like they're talking, they can talk about anything. Half the time I was like working out comedy bits. I was like doing whatever, talking about my day. And then like if you tip me, then maybe something would happen. And so I was working in neurosurgery. So I was working for a med device company. I started doing comedy, and my screen name on Chatterbait was Gina Hyena. So I was like, this is going to be the best idea ever. I was like, I'm going to be like the webcam comedian girl, and there's no way I'll ever get caught for doing this. So I did a SiriusXM interview about it. And my coworker and me had one friend in common in New York who happened to work for SiriusXM. He told my partner, who's a fucking dude, fucking rat. He hears it, sits on the information for like 3 months, fucks up with a patient. He like underdoses. We had like these pain pumps. He ended up fixing it, but he messed up with one of our top clients. Mm-hmm. So to get heat off of him, he called HR and said that I did porn. So
No way.
Yeah. So 4 p.m.
I got a story like that too.
Yeah. 4 p.m. the day that like all this shit goes down with one of our top customers. I'm in San Antonio in a different surgery. I'm driving home, 4 p.m., get a phone call. And they're like, we want to talk about something that happened today. And I'm like ready to be like ride or die for my partner, be like, I wasn't there, like whatever, like you guys sorted it out. And I'm like, yeah, okay, what happened today? And they're like, we heard you're affiliated with a pornographic website. And I was like, what? So then they were like, do you know who Gina Hyena is? And I was like, fuck.
You're like, I don't know who she is. Who's that?
So they fired me in the mail. Nobody wanted to because they are all like held Bible study together because they were all from Dallas. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't be near me because they thought I was like the devil or something.
It's one of those things where corporate America is so against it. And then you look at these YouTube kids and stuff now who are porn stars, actual porn stars. And they're making millions and millions of dollars.
Do you know how annoying it was that literally a month later, everybody had an OnlyFans?
Yeah.
Literally a month later, it became so normalized. And I was like, cool. Now that the thing was, I got fired a week before COVID hit.
It's like,
so it was perfect on my resume.
Well, imagine being like the person who's in jail right now for selling weed.
Yeah, you're like, fuck
New
that.
New York or New Jersey or something.
So
stupid. They should let everybody the fuck out. Before you legalize it, you should just be like, oh, what are you in here for? Selling a gram
weed?
of weed?
Yeah, you made somebody have a good night and relax?
It's so stupid.
You upped Ben and Jerry's sales? What'd you fucking do? No, and you know what's so annoying? Remember that dude did you see the guy that got suspended for masturbating on the Zoom call? He was
not the old man, right?
The older guy. Yeah, it was with a bunch of news reporters, and they're like, hey, he's back on the air.
Really?
Yeah, they brought him back this week. I'm like, okay, I wasn't masturbating the OR.
That's what's weird. Yeah. It's like, why are you jerking off on a Zoom call? If I got caught sleeping on a Zoom call, that makes more sense.
Right?
Who's paying attention that much on a Zoom call? Right. Or who's all horned up? Kind of tugging on your pole.
Everyone's so tired on a Zoom call. Yeah. You really get off by somebody be like, you guys hear me?
I mean, everyone at this point has been on a Zoom call from 3 to 73.
Yeah.
Everyone's been on a Zoom. How stupid does everyone look?
So stupid.
Just sitting there and you're waiting for your turn to talk with 97 other faces in there. I'm like, why the fuck are we doing this?
Worst thing they ever came up with was Zoom comedy shows during the pandemic.
That's so stupid.
I did not do one. I'm sorry if y'all did it and you thought you did something, but like people would do comedy and everybody else would be muted. So you'd get no feedback and it would just be like you throwing jokes out.
Listen,
to nothing.
I'm so excited that live music is back. Sunday night, I'm going to go see the Foo Fighters.
Ooh.
So I'm very excited.
Where?
MSG.
Are they making you show your vaccination card?
They're going to blow the roof off. I don't know. I hope not.
We're going to leave that we're going to let that, I don't know.
Because I'm hoping to not bring a phone because I'm looking to pass out face down.
Nice.
In the crowd. Yeah, no, I'm excited about that. But like, that's what makes the experience, right? You know, comedy shows, music, sporting events. To watch it any other way just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense at all. And nobody knows how to act right now. It's so great.
Yeah.
Like how you were just saying you want to be face down at the Foo Fighters.
Because I've been craving a live music show. Like I would go see at least 10 shows a year. At least 10 shows a year.
Who else were you always going to see?
Guns N' Roses.
How many times have you seen Guns N' Roses?
6 or 7.
You're so
Well, that's only in
Jersey.
the last couple of years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. So you go.
Springsteen, Billy Joel. Like if a classic
Your Jersey
rock
is showing so much right now.
If a classic rock band is playing, the Eagles. I saw Tom Petty's last show in Queens. I saw
Tom Petty's great live.
I saw one of Fleetwood Mac's, like the last time they were all together. I saw them here.
The last couple of people you named just sounds like you went to like a retirement home.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They were just like on strings. Animated.
I'm gonna go see what's his name? James Taylor soon. James Taylor and who's he playing with? I forget who he's playing with, but I'm very excited about that show.
All
Jackson Brown.
I don't know who Jackson Brown is. I'm gonna be
come
honest
on.
with you.
You know exactly.
Sing something by Jackson Brown.
Could I play it on my phone?
No, fuck no.
Oh.
Sing
Jackson Brown, famous song you might know.
Dead Air.
Why am I going blank right now?
Hey, you must be a
I'm
big
gonna play it
fan,
for you
you
later.
fucking poser. All right.
Yeah.
So you go
I do. I feel like that right now.
you go from fat kid, you're in high school, you love working out.
Yeah,
then
I actually enjoy the process. I think that's what people need to understand. Like, I think more people are experiencing that now that they're doing it.
You come up with that? Enjoy the process? Is that you?
No, I wish that was me though. But I think that's what so many people are afraid to do it. Now they see so many people that they admire and they like doing it. Then they started doing it and they realize how rewarding and fulfilling and great it feels to work out. Even you, Gina.
Even me.
Enjoy working out.
I do.
Yeah.
It's true. I love Barry's Boot Camp. I'm joking. I love Strong New York. That's Kenny's brand. But we're going to get to how he got there eventually.
Well, wait, so you started doing berries?
No, I do berries every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah. So, no, I just do everything every once in a while. I'm like a huge hoe for different gyms. Yeah. I go to Equinox, I go to berries. I'll drop into, what else do I drop into? I used to love Monster Cycle.
You sound like a very basic bitch. I do cycling.
You would think.
I do berries. I do Equinox.
You just said you go to Fleetwood Mac concerts and you're going to call me basic. Okay, Urban Outfitters.
I'm
okay.
more unique, actually.
You're very unique for liking Fleetwood Mac, along with every other bitch and influencer hat. Drinking mimosas.
No. They wear the shirt.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know who the band is.
Yeah, just like how you didn't know that song by Jackson Brown.
I know. I'm still drawing a blank right now.
So, like 4 people I asked who wanted to know shit about Kenny. And like 4 people remembered you used to be on TV.
Okay.
So you go from
4 people.
Like 4, like maybe 4.
I hate it every time. I think I was in like Starbucks today or a Joe's Coffee. I was in a Joe's Coffee day. And somebody's like, "Hey man, aren't you?" I go, "No, I'm not."
Oh, really? Okay, so you were on MTV. Jersey Shore? Is it Jersey Shore?
I used to host it.
Floribama Shore. You were on The Real World.
I used to host the Jersey Shore after show on MTV.com. That was like one of my first.
You shouldn't say that out loud.
I loved it. It was a great gig.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the beginning, I was actually a bigger star than they were. because people knew who I was.
Oh, okay.
They were like, "Oh, our celebrity host." I go, "Who's he?"
You're like, who's about to show up?
I go, "I thought that was my gig."
Aw, how cute is that? Well, so you did the challenges, right?
I only did the challenges. So they brought me in as a kind of a new face. I was a finalist for one of the Real Worlds before that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they wanted to do this new concept that they had, and they brought in new people to go against all the old people.
What made you apply?
It's a kind of a long story. I was actually working at a club in Woodbridge, New Jersey. I was, seeing this girl who worked there, and she was like a huge fan of the show. She's like one of these girls who like watches The Real World, watches Friends, watches all this shit. At the time, this was 2001, 2000. I was heavy into like WWE and shit like that. So like on Monday nights, that's what I did. On Thursday nights, that's what I did. Like there was no time to watch anything else but wrestling. And then I was really into like, that's when UFC, that's when I like first fell in love with UFC. Like that was like the early years, like when it started to.
With like Tito Ortiz and those guys. Yeah.
It started, and like Matt Serra and those guys. That was like, what was cool about UFC at that point was Frankie Edgar. Like these guys were guys.
Who's the Iceman? Homeboy, and then he did the brisk iced tea commercials,
yes,
which was so sad.
Fuck, why am I'm blanking on everything.
I know.
The beard, the bald head, yeah. No, what was cool was a lot of these guys were like college wrestlers. I wrestled in college, and I've heard about these guys. Some of these guys were from New Jersey. I knew a couple guys who I used to wrestle with in high school and college who went on to go into the UFC. So it was exciting because I tell people this all the time. Wrestling is one of those sports, UFC is more exciting, but wrestling is one of those sports where unless you know somebody who's in it, it's fucking boring to watch.
Yeah.
And nobody used to come to wrestling matches, right? The difference between, and this is what I say about women's sports, right? Everybody's like, oh, why don't the women make as much as the guys? It's like, because nobody's watching the women. Everybody's watching the guys. It's the same thing for guys' sports that nobody gives a shit about. Nobody cares about guys' lacrosse. Nobody cares about
guys. Guys soccer in America, women's soccer team in America kicks ass.
Yeah, but still nobody's going to the games, right? So there's no money. But like comparatively, men's soccer to women's soccer, there's more people watch. Like I played a sport that nobody gave a fuck about. Right?
Yeah,
nobody came. The only people in the stands where I can name everybody in the stands, right? Because nobody gives a shit about men's wrestling. But when you know somebody in it, you're like, oh my God, that's so cool. I know that guy, or I grew up with that guy. So that was fun. So I was super into that. Anyway, this girl was super into the Real World, and she's like, hey, there's a Real World tryout in Syracuse, New York. You want to take a ride with me?
Did she want to get on?
Yeah, she wanted to go on.
Ooh,
I had no.
God,
I knew
horrible.
It was. I hate when people would come up to me and be like, I never heard of the Real World. What the fuck is that? I'm like, what do you mean you never? What do you live under a rock? How do you not know?
They're probably really interesting people, but you've never heard of it.
The show started in what, 91 or 92?
Yeah,
and this was like 2004. You're going to tell me for 10 plus years you never heard of this show?
Yeah.
So anyway, I ended up getting on, or I was a finalist for this one show. They called me back for another show, and I think I tried out in like September of 04. By September of 05, I was on my first show.
And did she just never get a call back or anything?
She didn't. They didn't even entertain it. I still to this day have zero clue what I said or what I did that people liked. Everybody's always like, how'd you get on? I go, there's no.
She had to not be happy about that.
No, we never even banged.
What?
I didn't even sleep with her.
So she was like, damn, she must have been super upset all around about your whole
she was thing. She was cute. She was cute. She was like a cocktail waitress at this club.
Huh.
She's hot.
Yeah. And then so she was like, I want to get on this show that I'm obsessed with.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and then you're like, whatever, I'll just give it a whirl. And then they have you on for fucking years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it happened.
That must have been fucking strange.
Here's, I mean, listen, you've gone to auditions before. So commercials, shows, whatever I've ever auditioned for. And I'm like, this would be fucking perfect. I want this job.
Yeah.
I never got them. The times I went in there where I'm like, what's the line? Okay. I say it and I walk the fuck out. Those are always the auditions I got or commercials I got. Like there were so many times I've gone in and I'm like, I don't give a fuck about this job. I really don't care to get it. And anyone.
And they're like, you're the one.
And they're like, you're perfect. And I'm like, how'd I get this bullshit job?
You just said Dow.
Yeah.
You know, Dow, right, Kenny?
There were so many times I was the kind of lead guy. And then I'm like, this is not the commercial I wanted. And everybody else is, how'd you get the job? I'm like, I don't know.
God.
Yeah.
So when did you leave MTV? You left MTV. What year was that?
I think I filmed the last bit of Jersey Shore stuff in like 2012, maybe 2013, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Did some after show shit. So I was hosting the after show stuff for the challenge as well. So they bring me on to host the after show stuff.
They just couldn't get enough of you.
And then I hosted a little bit on or I was a finalist to host the Playboy morning show. So I did that for a little bit.
So how many times have you needed antibiotics in these years?
I'll tell you what, Monday morning, filming that show, it was me and the female co-host, and Monday morning at like 9 a.m., 7 beautiful women walk in there, no tops on. And I go, I can't believe this might be my life. Monday morning will never be the same.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so true. Especially when you were a kid.
I don't know how I got called for that job. And then a couple years later, I started hosting. I would do this. I had met the guys from this company, FitAid, who I've been working with since, God, it's got to be 7 or 8 years now. They're a fitness company. They are a drink company out of, the kind of the CrossFit space. And now they're blowing up. They're huge right now. Shout out to those guys because I met these guys when they were slinging cans of this shit out of the trunk of their car.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then now they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, which is awesome. So
yeah, good for them.
Cool. And when I met them, we were chatting. They were like, yeah, we should do something. And I pitched them this idea of doing this like morning show. They were like, what else do you do besides coach? I was like, well, I used to host and stuff like that.
During the idea where you're like, so there's 7 topless girls.
No, yeah. So that was in and around the same time.
Yeah.
And I was like, I do some hosting, and they were like, all right, let's do a show together. So I started doing the show. And then at that same time, we were out in LA. We were doing a segment of the show, and this woman who owns a company called Model Beach Volleyball goes, hey, do you want to host my Model Beach Volleyball event?
And you're like, gross.
And I'm like, what the fuck? This is a joke. This can't be real. And they're like, no, it's a huge deal. So I look it up and I'm like, holy shit. So then I found myself for 4 or 5 years hosting this event down in Miami with 70 beautiful models, guys, girls. I mean, everybody there was gorgeous.
Kenny, I hate to tell you this, but you actually had a heart attack when you were 11 years old from having too much cheese and pasta.
I died.
And you've actually been dead.
Yeah. There's so many times.
16 years now.
Even just as recently, I have a very huge client that I'm obsessed with.
Yeah.
I've been obsessed with my whole life. And I get to train people that I admire the hell out of. And there are so many times I'm like, I don't know how the fuck I got here.
Yeah, that's what we're all still trying to figure out. Ken.
Yeah, but I love it. It's like when I got on television, everybody's like, how'd you get here? Especially being from New Jersey. I was like a fat, awkward loser kid from New Jersey. And then people are like, how'd you get here? I go, I don't deserve this. I promise. There's been women I've been laying naked next to. And I'm like.
And they're like, you totally didn't.
No, I've said to them, I go, you should not be here with me right now.
And they're like, I know, I got to get to school. My dad's going to be pissed.
That happens for sure. But no, there's been times where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how. I got a lot of ass I don't deserve. I got a lot of opportunities I don't deserve. I just kind of was the right guy at the right time. But this is what I tell everyone. Get up to fucking bat. Don't be afraid to get up to bat. Like swing the bat. Because if you don't swing, you'll never hit anything. Right? Just try. And that's what I've always done. I would literally leave my old job to go to auditions or go do different stuff. Or one of the biggest pluses in my life and one of the biggest minuses in my life is I'm a yes man. If somebody's like, hey, do you want to do a podcast? Yes. Do you want to go here? Yes. Do you want to do this? Sure. I'll do anything and everything. I'm not afraid to try anything. I want to try different things. I like the experience. And there's a ton of shit that I've done that I don't like and
Yeah.
But I've always kind of just done what I wanted to do and try different things. And you can't be afraid to try different things.
When did you get, so you went, I met you in a gym where you were working for someone.
That's another rabbit hole we could go down.
Yeah. Cause now we got to get to cause I want to promote your gym.
Yeah.
That's where I was going.
So I started working at Equinox back in 2008, 2009, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started doing CrossFit, like real CrossFit around that same time.
Real CrossFit.
Like I was doing it like outside a gym, like pulling the workouts off like online, like CrossFit.com. And then there was a gym that opened up here in New York that I started going to that I really loved. I loved the one guy who was the head coach. So I was going there all the time, got super into it, got asked to open up a CrossFit gym in New Jersey. I opened up a CrossFit gym in New Jersey, had some shitty partners. I'm very passionate about what I do and what I love. Mm-hmm. Whether it's art or training or, even doing this, there are things that I enjoy that I love to do. And I don't consider them work. And if I don't get paid for them, I'm an idiot because I don't ask for money or do anything like that. But
isn't that crazy when you realize you can get paid for this shit that you like? Oh my
God, it's crazy. when I hear there are so many times where people have asked me to do jobs or endorsements or things like that. And they're like, well, we don't have much of a budget. We could give you 10 grand. I go, 10 grand? That's a great budget.
That's wild.
Yeah.
The first time I ever got paid for comedy, I was like, you're going to pay me to talk shit?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah. There's so many times where I'm like, I would have done this for free.
Right.
So, and I've slowly learned over the years. I mean, it comes time where you're like, okay, yeah, this is probably where I should ask for money. If somebody's like, hey, we got a budget of 10 grand. I'm like, well, if they say they have 10, they probably have 20.
Yeah, right.
Right. So I'm like, I'll do it for 18.5. And they're like, okay. I'm like, I should ask for 30. Fuck.
I know. As soon as you get the yes quick, you're like, fuck.
Yeah. You're like, shit. This guy made the decision. He didn't even have to go up the chain to ask.
Jesus. So when did Strong New York start?
So I wanted to do something. I'm so embedded, or I want to be so embedded into the fitness space. Like the people that I admire, the people I love. 6 years ago, maybe even longer than that, I wrote in a notebook that I carry around with me everywhere. I said, success to me would be working with the people that I love and admire. And it doesn't matter who it is. And there are people that...
And you met me and you're like, here we
are. No, so I was like, there are people in the fitness space that I view as like celebrities. I'm like, I love what they're talking about. I love their voice. I love... whether they're a doctor, a nutritionist, or a trainer, whatever they're doing, I admire the hell out of that. And I was like, if I could play in the same game as them or, be on the same playing field as them, that would be considered success to me. So when I started, doing more and more training and going to different fitness events, I started become friends with the people I admired. Like there was a time where I'd sit around.
Wild, right?
Yeah. And I sit around and I'm talking to people that I'm like, I love this guy or this girl. They influence the way I think and the way I kind of go about my day. And when I started to work with them, I'm like, I want to share these people with my community and with the people, like my family, my friends, my clients. So I wanted to put on an event at the gym that I had access to. I go, let's fly everybody into, like I said before, I haven't missed a Comic-Con in forever. There's a food and wine festival. There's Comic-Con. There's a coffee festival. There's a fucking festival for everything here in New York City. Why isn't there one for fitness? So I go, I'm going to put the one on for fitness. And everybody said, that's a stupid idea. That's crazy. I go, I'm going to do it. So I started flying people in and paying, like kind of putting up my own money. And I was like, I just want to do this big event and we'll call it Strong New York. And this will be like the fitness festival here in New York. So first one I did had 50 people. The last one we did in December of 2019 had 500 people.
So wild. That's so great.
Right?
It's just the consistency. Like as soon as you stick to something, you're like, damn, this will really well work out.
But do you know how many times I've tried shit and it just didn't work? And people are like, oh, what did you do? I'm like, well, you don't give up. You're like, all right, what did I do wrong? How could I tweak this?
Yeah.
So when the pandemic hit, I go, okay, well, no gyms are open. I don't know what to do. I was there was a gym source next to my gym, next to my apartment, and everything they had, I just started buying up: battle ropes, jump ropes, everything. I bought a cart from Home Depot, which everyone stole my idea.
Oh, I've seen his cart. It's ridiculous.
And I would drag this like paint cart basically from Home Depot.
Full of weights, which is sort of impressive.
Yeah, it's fucking heavy as shit. Kettlebells and dumbbells and battle ropes and all this shit. And I have a suitcase full of like bands and all this shit. And then Gronkowski's brother owns this, it's called Bump Box. It's like this big boom box. And they were like, hey, do you want one of these bump boxes? And I was like, yeah. So I started doing these workouts in the park because I started going over there myself. I was going crazy in the middle of the pandemic. I couldn't tell you when people say I have anxiety, I'm like, what the fuck is anxiety?
And now you know.
And then I found out early on in the pandemic. So I started going to the park, working out, and I'd feel better. I'd go for a run. I'd feel better. I'm like, if I need this, there's 1,000 other people that need it.
Oh, because the people that already had anxiety or depression, I mean, that was a lot of people's outlet, was always working out. As soon as you took that away, I mean, I was still in Texas and all the gyms closed. And that's what I remember. So I lost my job. I didn't have another job. So I came back to New York, and it was September. It was in the middle of everything being, it got cold out. It was so fucking depressing. I went to your class. Like the first week I was back, I went to your class with your giant fucking boombox. We worked out outside, and it was like, thank God. It was like a saving grace for so many people. Yeah.
I've had multiple people like just crying to me, being like, could I just hang out here for the day? I'm like, yeah, sure. I would do privates out there. I'd do, small group training. I'd have classes of 30, 40 people at night. And it was fun. It gave me an outlet. It gave me something to do. It gave me something to look forward to. Because a lot of people, if you stayed in the city, which was very few people, there was really nothing to do. I mean, nothing was open. It was hard to do pretty much anything. So, like I was cooking at home all the time. Even coffee would I'm like,
yeah, you're like, what the fuck? There used to be such good coffee around.
There was nowhere to get coffee. So I started even making coffee at home. But yeah, no, I mean, it just kind of kept me busy, and then it was going well, and I built up this community, and I know there's other trainers out there who started building up their communities, and I wanted a place to take my family, my fitness family. So last week I signed a lease for a place.
Ooh, where's it gonna be?
28th and 5th Avenue.
Alrighty.
Here in New York, and it's called Strong New York, and it's kind of the birth of like what I want to do, and all are welcome. And I just wanted to create a space for trainers like myself who have this community, have a group of people who want to stick together, who kind of went through all this bullshit over the last year with each other. And it's a space for them to come work out and hang out. So it's like kind of a social, called the Strength Social Club.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, because that really was like when there was that great place that we went to. I would be in there for like 3 hours a day. Yeah. If you have a good spot like that, and that's what I'm like searching for. That's why I'm like, I go to your place, and then it's like before you had your place, you were renting out a spot, and it was like, well, I don't get to hang out here all day. So I'm like, then I'm going to run over to Barry's, and I'm like not getting like, there's no social aspects. No. Of like Barry's, Orange Theory, all of those like corporate things. There's no social aspect.
But think about, right? There are multiple people who want that. Not so much like a Soho House type feel where it's like bougie assholes.
You just need community.
People just want community. People just want to feel, I say this about everything, and I realized this very early on in life because I was one of these people. Everybody wants to be loved, accepted, felt important, felt like they're part of the team. Even for myself, like there's so many people who see me and they're like, oh, you're on TV and you're in the gym and, everyone must love you. And I'm like, no, it's not always like that. And there's no one like that. Like, from the most famous people I know to, no one. I love making everyone feel like they're at home. And like, that's super important to me. So like the gym and the equipment and all that bullshit is secondary to making sure people feel like they have a place where they feel safe and feel comfortable and feel like they can have a good time.
Which is how actually like this happened. Because you were like, I used to allegedly hang out with some pretty sketchy people in New York. And so I came here, dated a guy who was hella abusive, dated another guy who was into a lot of sketchy stuff. And so I moved here not knowing anyone or having like any like anybody. So after I was out of that relationship, I was like, I don't have any friends. And if I bartend, I'm going to meet the wrong people.
Mhm.
I work alone. I live alone. So I joined that gym where you were a coach, and I was like there for maybe a month. And then I was like, I don't know where to go in the Jersey Shore. And I was like, I bet Kenny knows where to go. And then we went on a trip with your whole ass family.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because you are very good at that, making people feel welcome. You're very good at that.
But that's super, like, I want to feel welcome, right?
Yeah.
I know what it's like to walk into a room and everybody make you feel uncomfortable. And I never want that for anybody. I know what that feels like. One of my biggest kind of pet peeves in growing up was when I was fat and awkward and I'm like eating, like everybody out there who's overweight and self-conscious, like you still to this day, I eat. I'm like, is anybody watching me eat this cookie? Because I know I shouldn't be eating this cookie.
Yeah,
I
and
know
you
everyone
think
else
people are judging you.
Everyone's
and you're like,
judging me. And I hated that. So when I was younger and I would see other people doing that, like I didn't want anybody. So I would go and sit with anybody at lunch, right? Like I didn't have a table, right? In my high school, there was like the football table and all the Filipino kids and then all the black kids. And then you'd have a table full like the golf kids. Like there was all these tables. And I was like, I kind of just floated around all the time and never really had like a table, because if somebody was sitting alone or doing anything, like I wanted to sit with them because I'm that kid. Right?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
So that's why I kind of did a lot of that.
Yeah.
Stuff. And, you know, we had, like, think about our group. It was like me, you, Lulu. It was like a bunch of misfits. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And that's why, like, honestly, a lot of people in the comedy community need to take notes right now, because it's very strange to me that I found out, because I'm the same way. I'm like, I will talk to anybody. I'm like, unless you've like tried to hurt me or somebody I care about physically or tried to like fuck with their money, like I give a fuck about you, you know? And I'm like, I've been through enough and I've been in those places where you feel very alone that I'm like, I wouldn't want anybody to feel that way. And the same thing with comedians. They're very like misfit. So I always made it a big thing. I'm like, I'll talk to anybody, because I've like projected onto like, this is my passion. So I'm like, I love anybody involved in it. And it's crazy when you find out there's like a bunch of misfits, but then there's people that like try to cancel each other. Or I don't know if you've run into that in the fitness community where they like talk shit and you're like, how? Yeah.
I mean, listen, I've had plenty of people try to cancel me and talk shit about me and everything else. And it's like, I can't believe that, you know, growing up, I always think about that scene from Goodfellas.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, when after he gets out of court and he goes, you learn the two most important things today: never rat on your friends and always keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
And like growing up, you know, an Italian kid from New Jersey.
Yep.
You get told that from day one.
Yeah. No rats.
Don't be a fucking rat. Don't, you know, if it's not don't get involved in other people's shit. Like, it's none of my business, right? If I expend my energy, if I spend my day trying to cancel somebody else, I've now took hours or time out of my day to ruin somebody else's life. It's so
absurd.
Counterproductive. It's so fucked up. It's like, if you put that much energy into something that you want to do, you can then be successful.
Yeah.
Instead of worrying about what the fuck everybody else is doing. And that's why I say, like, I've said this since day one. I go, my goal is to heal whatever part of the world that I'm in through fitness.
I like that.
If I could get people to focus on themselves, right? If you hate this person so much, then why the fuck are you even following them or watching them or doing? Put that energy towards yourself. Go join a gym. Go find somebody who could potentially help you in your community, in your life, or whatever it is. Stop spending time obsessing about somebody else and do your own shit. And that's what I try to get people to do. It's like, don't worry about Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Susie, and everybody else. You need to be, hey, what am I doing wrong? How could I improve myself today?
Yeah, it's crazy, because that's what it's like. I tell that about people that try to talk shit about other comedians. I'm like, as much time as you spent writing a Facebook post about them, you should have been writing jokes.
Exactly.
Like, what were you doing?
You tell me a scenario, like, if I fucking hate Kim Kardashian and I'm going on her page and she's like, she's doing this, she's doing that. I could, what do? I want to be a makeup artist, right? Let's say I want to be a makeup artist and I'm talking shit about Kim Kardashian's makeup artist. Well, if I spent more time doing makeup, I go buy a fucking mannequin and I do makeup on this fucking mannequin. And then I'd put up videos of me doing artwork on, or makeup on fucking mannequins. That's me being more productive for myself instead of spending that time shitting on somebody else. If I want to go be a podcast, and I hate Joe Rogan. He's a piece of shit and blah, blah, blah. What if I just go buy a microphone or go get a job so I can afford a microphone and then set up a little studio and make it look cool and then start to study what he's doing well rather than shitting on him.
On what he's doing wrong. Yeah, that's what, it's crazy because that's what like I think jealousy or hatred like that is like the most futile emotion ever. It's like it's useless. It's a useless emotion.
But it's so much inner turmoil. And when you start to do things that benefit you, right? If you start to collect those little wins, and this is what I tell people. I hate this girl because she's this, or I hate that girl because she's that. Okay, why do you hate her? Oh, she's got this and she's got that. Okay, so why don't you go and get that? Why don't you go to the gym? She's got a great ass. Okay, so you go get a great ass.
So go squat. Yeah, it's crazy.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, and I think a lot of things, you know, I say success, and you know, Tony Robbins says this, and Joe Rogan talks about it. I mean, a lot of the people I admire say the same shit about Jeff Bezos. These people, everyone works out. It starts with yourself. When you start taking care of yourself, then you can start to take care of the things around you.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, because you're not going to be able to, unless you're taken care of. Like, that's what I tell people and friends, like, especially girlfriends trying to get into relationships, when they're so focused on like a guy or what he's doing, I'm like, first off, get a hobby. Yeah. Because if you're that bored that you're checking on somebody, like, get a fucking hobby and then somebody's going to be attracted to you. Because if you don't have your own thing fucking going on, nobody wants anything to do with you.
Shit. If I meet a girl and she has no friends and no career goals and nothing going on, there's nothing more unattractive. Yeah. I love somebody when girls say, "Oh, guys don't like girls who make their own money." I go, "Who's this idiot?" I go, "I want you to make your own money. I want you to have your own friends. I want you to have your own shit going on.
Have dark hair.
Because I don't want you stuck up my fucking ass all day. Yeah. I got my own shit going on." I say life is like being on an airplane. When the airplane's going down, which in a bad situation, it's going down, right? They tell you, the first thing they tell you is put your fucking mask on, breathe so you could help everyone else breathe. And that's the way I go through life. I'm like, all right, what do I need to do for myself so I can cater to everyone else? I need to do what I need to do. Right now, my goal is to make the best possible gym I can right now in New York. But I'm like, I have to take care of my shit so I can make this the best possible gym. So I can make the experience for everyone so great and they want to come back and they want to have a good time. Life is about serving other people. How do I service them the best? I'm a gym owner. I'm a trainer. I want to make sure they have the best experience. I want to make sure that I'm giving them everything I possibly can. I want to make sure I know enough that I can teach them new things. I want to make sure that I'm up to date on what I need to know so I can take care of them. And if nurses do the same and a garbage man does the same and a musician does the same and whatever the fuck you're doing, if you become the best version of you and you're worried about your shit, there is zero time to worry about what the fuck everybody else is doing. There is zero time.
Exactly. Right? I'm like, it's not that fucking hard to be kind. Like, worry about your own shit and just be kind.
You want to see other people win. When I meet, one of my clients just got a new job today. He's like, I'm going to make double what I make right now.
Good.
So I'm like, fuck yeah. Because now you could pay me more. You're going to come see me more. You're winning. You're happy, right? That's what makes the world go around. If everybody's winning, the craziest thing is that people are so short-sighted. They're like, if Gina never does great in her podcast, then I'm going to do great. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. No. You still suck. Even if she sucks or you try to shit on her or cancel her or whatever you want to do, you still suck. It doesn't move you up the ranks.
Oh, it's the craziest. That's what like happened a lot, or I see it a lot in comedy where somebody will do well and they're like, oh, well, this person got this gig. And I'm like, they didn't steal that gig from you.
Yeah. You were never in line for them.
Yeah. Just work on your own shit. Cause like that for me became the goal of like, I'm not a fan anymore. I'm a peer, right? Yeah. Where it's like, I don't want to be a fucking fan. I want to be a peer and I don't want anybody to be able to follow me. And the way I'm going to be able to do that is like just working on my own shit. All of my like stuff comes from my own experiences. So I'm like, no one's going to steal that from me. And like, if so-and-so does better and they get a headlining gig, they don't have the same audience as me. So why the fuck do I care? Like, it's just fucking crazy. Like there's room for everyone.
There's room for everybody. I tell people, it's as simple as this, right? Coca-Cola came along, made the greatest soda or whatever you want to call it in the world. I hate soda. I haven't drank soda in 20 fucking years. But at the same time, like think of Coca-Cola. Pepsi came along and does just as good, if not better at times throughout the fucking years as Coca-Cola did. RC Cola. Most of you probably don't even know. You're probably too young to know what the hell RC Cola. But RC Cola is a $1 billion company.
Yeah.
And they're making soda. And they don't give a shit because they're making a soda. If they believe in their product, they're doing what they love. They want to, kind of create a great soda or whatever. I never look at another trainer and be like, oh, I could admire it. I like what he does.
Absolutely, yeah.
But because there's other Italian guy trainers from New Jersey who live in New York City.
No room for you, Kenny.
There's no room for me. I just got to be me, So, but I didn't always have this mindset, right? As I've gotten older, I'm like, I would get upset about shit like this.
Oh, for sure, same.
I would get, and now I start to see it a little bit more clearly, where I'm like, well, yeah, I hope everybody does well. I love the idea of like more people doing fitness and more, because now there are plenty of people who are still obese. I mean, still one of the biggest problems in this country is obesity.
Yep.
Right. There's still plenty of people who need to work out. There's still plenty of people who, don't go to the gym. I used to do this all the time when I was at the old gym. People would walk by and I would bring some of the other trainers out and I'm like, come outside, point out the people who you think have been to the gym this week. Right?
Yeah.
And out of 100 people, it maybe be 10 or 15 where we'd be like, she or he maybe goes to the gym once a week.
Yeah.
If that.
It is crazy. And that's why, like you said, it's so important for everyone, no matter what they're doing, just even for mental health. Like I've changed a lot. And since I've gotten older, that I'm like, it's less for aesthetics for me as much as it is for my mental health.
Yeah. 100%.
And being able to like sleep well and being able to be productive. I actually do all my writing after I like start. I'll be doing cardio or I'll be working out. And that's when I'll think of jokes and like they'll work themselves out while like my brain is just, I don't know, working better during that time, or it just clears out. I mean, all that fucking shit.
It's scientifically proven. It helps everything: circulation and cardiovascular health and brain functionality and endorphins and everything. Like there's nothing wrong with being strong. There's always an upside.
Oh,
there's
for
no
sure.
downside to working out. Like you never finish a workout and you're like, fuck, I wish I didn't do that.
So you're actually surprisingly like charming on a podcast. We argued the whole way here. We have a few minutes left. So tell everybody where they can find you, what they should be following, and drop that address of the gym one more time.
So you can find me at Kenny Santucci on Instagram. I have a TikTok, but I'm not cool. I don't do any dances. I'm not funny. I just put up shitty workout videos. And then at Strong New York, which is my gym, and that will be opening very, very soon. Sooner rather than later. It'll be on 28th and 5th Avenue. So if you guys are ever in the neighborhood, please stop by. All are welcome. And I say all are welcome. All those who want to change. Don't stop in and just want to, bitch and complain about, oh, there's not a fucking fancy chandelier. It's not about that. Oh, you're listening to old rock and roll music. Well, I'm not a fucking DJ. You want to go to a fucking club, go there. Come, have a good time, meet some great people, hang out. And get a good sweat in.
Great. All right. Well, I'm Gina Hyena. This is Kenny Santucci. Let's cheers.
Cheers.
This has been Gina Got Friends. And we always say, everybody eats. Everybody eats, Kenny.
There's enough to go around.
Word. All right.
Sure.
Hit it, Dave.